Hello, I'm Dr. Rostenberg, and I want to personally thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. Stay tuned at the end of the video, and I will give my recipe for your healing process. Now, I wish we could achieve our results with just diet and lifestyle alone, but supplements really do make the difference. And to help you with that, you'll have an opportunity to order supplements at a discounted rate. We'll see you then. Today's video is going to cover a type of testing that we do in our office. I want to share this with my audience because those of you who are looking for ideas and insights into how to help people, help individuals with methylation problems, there is a test called an organic acid test that I believe is essential in putting the puzzle together as to why patients are sick, and especially why patients cannot tolerate methylation support even though they have the genes that suggest that they need it. So I'm gonna show you several pathways over and over again in this video, and what I want you to understand is, these pathways represent our catecholamine detoxification. So this is really the second half of the life cycle of these chemicals. We're not talking about how they're produced, we're talking instead about how they're detoxified. So this is a chart showing the route that dopamine has to take to get into our urine. I've shown these slides before, and I've probably spent several hundred hours looking at them myself. And what has become clear, and what I want to show you, is that gut problems will show up causing brain problems, and it's mainly by inhibiting the detoxification of these catecholamines, of dopamine and of adrenaline. And so what I've shown you is yeast slows, aldehyde dehydrogenase, alcohol reductase, and alcohol dehydrogenase. Okay, so these enzymes, all of these enzymes are going to be impaired when yeast is growing in the gut, as well as these enzymes. MAO is affected by estrogen. I've talked about that in previous posts, but certainly the COMT is slowed down by phenols that come from bacteria. So right here with dopamine, you can see yeast affects almost half of the half the enzymes responsible for breaking down catecholamines, and then bacteria and estrogen affect the other ones. So we can have huge changes in our stress level and how we react to stress and how our symptoms are manifesting because of a gut problem. So let's look again at norepinephrine. It's a little bit different than dopamine. There's a sulfation reaction that actually helps to detoxify adrenaline. But again, phenols from the gut slow down sulfation pathways. So we have gut-based bacterial byproducts affecting the COMT and the SULT genes. They're going to inhibit, and they're going to, basically cause a reduction in speed or an increase in the half-life of adrenaline. And if you increase the half-life of adrenaline, you're going to be way more stressed out, way more symptomatic. Your sleep will be terrible. Your body will hurt. You'll feel like you can't tolerate any stress at all. And so again, we have yeast over here again, rearing its ugly head, kind of affecting these things. So you can see that based on the arrows that I've drawn, looking at yeast and phenols, every enzyme on this page is inhibited except for the MAO system, and the MAO system is inhibited by estrogen, and estrogen is cleared by COMT. So as COMT slows down, estrogen builds up and it begins to inhibit MAO. Moral of the story here, guys, is your detoxification of catecholamines is very, very, very dependent on these genes and these pathways, and the gut has a huge impact here. So now we're looking again, just another slide, basically what I just showed you. Candida slows down the removal of catecholamines just as the bacteria does. And I mentioned this already once, but I just kind of want to show you again that high estrogen slows down COMT and MAO. Okay, so we've got women on birth control for 20 years. We've got estrogens in the water supply, estrogens in the food. We've got, millions and millions of people with severe gallbladder problems, detoxification issues. We're loaded with estrogen. Is it any wonder that most of the people in our society are suffering from some kind of anxiety, depression, chronic pain, or insomnia? Fatigue and brain fog go in there as well. These are all manifestations of imbalances in neurotransmitters. And the methylation cycle plays a huge role here. But today's video is really just looking at how we're detoxifying them and how the gut plays a role. So I find it interesting that estrogen creates more stress hormones and testosterone helps break them down faster. And that's in another video I've just done previously. So I want to show you a few snippets of the organic acid test so you can get a feel for the value of the test. So this is the first categories, numbers 1 through 9, and these are fungal metabolites. These are chemicals produced by the activity of fungus. And you can see in this individual, they've got 3 markers that are far outside of range, right? So this little bar at the end of the measurement is 2 standard deviations. So, you're 9 standard deviations here, 4 standard deviations, 6 standard deviations or more here. So you're seeing this person, this is great evidence that they have a fungal issue. And as I mentioned before, Candida will interfere with aldehyde detoxification. And why might that be important? Well, for one, histamine has a multi-step process to get out of our body. Multi-step. There's a methylation reaction, there's the diamine oxidase reaction, but regardless of how this molecule leaves our body, it will have to be detoxified by an aldehyde dehydrogenase. And that is what Candida will slow down. So those of you with histamine problems, runny nose, seasonal allergies, food intolerances, you've got a gut problem till proven otherwise. And one of the main players is going to be a fungal reaction in most cases. Again, Candida albicans, the most common gut pathogen, gut fungal pathogen, I should say, does release aldehydes. This is from 2013. And you can see that this is alcohol dehydrogenase, produces aldehydes, and then the aldehydes have to be detoxified into vinegar, basically. Vinegar is essentially harmless for our body. But the Candida produces ethanol and aldehydes, so you get alcohol and you get aldehydes, so you're going to have stress in these pathways when you've got a gut infection with Candida. And again, you can look at inhibiting the breakdown of aldehydes as being now, this is pretty recent data from about a year ago. They're relating the detoxification of aldehydes to all kinds of systemic diseases, and it makes sense when you understand that aldehydes are very reactive molecules. They break DNA, they cause cellular damage. So if yeast begins to inhibit and slow down your ALDH, your ADH, your ALR system, you will have more aldehydes in your body longer. You'll have a longer half-life of aldehyde, more opportunity for it to bother your body and cause damage. So now we look at gut phenols, and same idea. We're now looking at all these markers on the organic acid test that are testing for phenol compounds. Phenols are healthy in moderate amounts. I mean, they're in fruit, they're in vegetables, they're in wine. There's health benefits to phenols. I'm not talking about those. I'm speaking today about the phenols that come from your gut. And these are more aggressive, they're in higher dosages, and they begin to inhibit your COMT and your sulfation pathway. And so you can see that this individual has multiple standard deviations elevated here of C. diff markers, beneficial bacteria, but remember, beneficial bacteria is only beneficial if it's in the right amount. If you have too much of a good thing, it becomes a bad thing. And that's true when we start to talk about issues like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, other issues. And clearly you can see how well the organic acid test is able to measure this for us. It's much more sensitive than a stool test. So when you see the high bacterial markers, it's slowing down catecholamine and phase 2 detox because of competition at the COMT and SULT enzymes. So I'm going to use a metaphor here to kind of clarify this, because sometimes when I talk pure methylation speak, I sound a little too robotic with all these different words that aren't words. So another way of looking at what I'm sharing with you today is think about traffic. Okay, so think about you're looking for parking space. So these trucks are trying to get down this road. Okay, this is about shows a study where phenols inhibited COMT function, just like I mentioned up there. Phenols will inhibit COMT and SULT. So when you have a gut infection, you have a excess of phenols and an excess of aldehydes coming into your body. And what they do is they take the parking space that your body had set aside for your dopamine, for your adrenaline, for your estrogen, for your chemicals. So the gut chemicals are getting there first. They're sitting in your parking space and hanging out. So your molecule of adrenaline has to drive around the block a few times, circle, and wait for that parking space to open up so it can be detoxified. And what that basically means is, your adrenaline, your dopamine, your catecholamines, your estrogens, and other toxins will have a longer half-life in your body. That can create disease, dysfunction, and lots of health problems. And I'm sharing this with you so that we can start to connect our symptoms to a gut problem and understand that you've got to treat the gut first. At least make sure it's working well before you go after targeting these other methylation pathways. We do both in my office. I use a lot of nutrition and strategies to help just with methylation, but that's after we've made sure the gut is working. So if there's people, gut chemicals hanging out in your parking spaces, then your own chemicals are not going to be broken down. Another great study here, kind of along the same lines, talking about how the COMT is inhibited by phenols. So, same idea, guys. When you have a lot of gut phenols coming into your body, then you're going to have really poor detoxification of your catecholamines. You're going to be much more sensitive to stress and the dysfunction that comes from that. So the other part of the organic acid test I'm going to share with you today is, looking at oxalates. So this doesn't show oxalates being elevated, although we do see this all the time. But it does measure the oxalate metabolites, which is really valuable. Other organic acid tests don't do it this way. This is one reason why I like Great Plains Lab. In my opinion, it's just the best one out there. They're a great company to work with. They don't pay me to say that. I'm just sharing that with you. Hey, here's what I use in my office. This is one I get the best results with. But oxalates cause some nasty problems in our body. And I will be getting a new video and a new article out talking about this to help educate everybody about this. But suffice it to say, you need to know if you or your patients have high oxalates. In studies where people were born with a lack, there's certain genetic conditions that cause high oxalates. They call it hyperoxaluria, high oxalates in the urine. And some of these individuals are born missing this enzyme right here. They call it primary hyperoxaluria type 1. Well, interestingly enough, in this genetic disorder, where there is very high amounts of oxalates, they have figured out that 5 milligrams per kilogram per day of B6 will make it not be a problem anymore. It will actually activate this enzyme and begin to correct for this genetic deficiency. And this really segues with a lot of the discussions we've had on other videos and other researchers looking at methylation, that, hey, you have a genetic issue, but with the right nutrition, the right dose, it no longer is an issue. And I just think that's really empowering. So this shows us the B6 relationship to hyperoxaluria. And this chart helps you understand that a little more. Your body is producing, you're getting in through your diet these chemicals, glycolate, glyoxalate. And without B6, the glyoxalate gets shunted and turned into an oxalate. And you get all kinds of nasty problems that I'll talk about on another video. But with enough sufficient B6, you'll be able to push glyoxylate into glycine. Your body can use that for detoxification and other methylation cycle issues and everything like that. So just showing you here the relationship between oxalates and B6. It's really a great thing to understand that when you have kidney stones and oxalate type problems, B6 is a good tool. And so now we look at neurotransmitter metabolites, and I just want to talk real quick about, I talk a lot about catecholamines. I don't spend as much time talking about serotonin, although it is also important. But 90% of people or more have low serotonin and higher catecholamines. It's just, that's the way we're built. And I just want to point out that catecholamines, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, are broken down by both COMT and MAO. But serotonin isn't. Serotonin is called a monoamine, and it's only broken down by MAO and a couple other enzymes. So serotonin doesn't get the same lift, it doesn't get the same benefit, if I can call it that dopamine and adrenaline does. In other words, when we're having a gut infection, when our pathways are really sluggish, we're sort of predisposed to having high catecholamines. We get a high catecholamine phenotype that is walking around out there in our society and suffering, and there's a lot we can do to help that person. So we're sort of pre-programmed to have low serotonin and high catecholamines. I don't have the study here to show you. Well, yes, I do. I can pull this up real quick. That MAO-A that breaks down serotonin is induced 2,000-fold by inflammation. So whenever we get inflamed, we will lose serotonin much quicker than we lose dopamine and adrenaline. I mean, if your body's fighting a war on the inside, why does it need to have good libido and a sense of well-being? It doesn't. It needs to take that serotonin, tear it up, use it for something else, and keep the adrenaline high so you can fight or run away, and maybe later when things calm down you can work on raising your serotonin again. So I'm viewing this as just another mechanism that helps to shift resources during stress. And just another thing to point out, that MAO-A is 120 times more hungry for serotonin than dopamine. So MAO-A really is the serotonin detoxifying enzyme. And just point that out. That's why a lot of people have low serotonin to higher dopamine. I see this pattern over and over and over again. Maybe 1 or 2 people out of 100 will have high serotonin. It's very rare. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, just to give you an idea about the organic acid test. Those of you who have worked with our office may already know about this, but if you're a doctor, a researcher, or a patient out there looking for a tool to help you help your patients, this is an essential part of that toolkit. And using the research that I've shared with you about how the gut influences the detoxification of our neurotransmitters, interfering with the half-life of them, leading to all these symptoms of anxiety, pain, worry, panic, insomnia, brain fog, and all the other dominoes that fall when those things start happening. We've got to look at gut, make sure it's a healthy place, and if not, we need to address it naturally and start supporting that environment. And we have some great tools to help you do that as well. So if you have any questions about this video or any of my other work, please reach out. I'd love to connect with you and be of service. Thank you so much for watching this video and sharing it with your friends and family. I personally believe, as I'm sure you do as well, that educating ourselves about what it truly means to be healthy is the only way we're going to change healthcare. I have created a website as a resource for you. To take advantage of this information, navigate to www.beyondmthfr.com and take a look around. In addition to blogs and articles I have written, you will find a tab on the menu labeled Protocols. It is a growing list of tools that I use in my office to help support my patients. You will find background information on common health conditions. You will find a detailed supplement protocol, and you will find dietary advice to support the body's natural healing process. You will also have access to order recommended supplements at a discounted rate and have them shipped to your front door. I'm giving you the tools that I use and practice every day to help you overcome health challenges and live a happier, healthier life. I have done my best to give you that information, and you will find it on these protocol pages. If you are looking for more help than simply what supplements should you take or what diet should you follow, I'm inviting you to come to Boise and see me. Let me and my team and my staff take care of you. We have patients coming from all over the country and all over the area on a regular basis, and there's room for you too. Now, if coming all this way to Boise is too big of a commitment, then please pick up the phone or email my office. We can work together from a distance.